World premiere coming up, official release of the documentary film House of Numbers, which I've seen, I've written on. I wrote a review up at IMDb, and as well as the Fandango site, because I believe it's the Regal Cinema chain that's opening it up in Portland, Oregon. And I've got the filmmaker right now, producer, director, brilliant young filmmaker, Brent Leung, joins me on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Many of you may have heard the podcast, but now it's about to go wide release. And I wanted to have Brent back on to preview for my listening audience this film, why you should go see it. Brent, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Robert. I appreciate it.
Brent, why, from your perspective, I mean, you're a young guy with 30-something, and you're looking at this whole HIV/AIDS debate. Why would somebody want to see this film? I mean, a lot of people aren't affected directly by HIV/AIDS, but I say everybody is because the economics of scale are such. But what are the things that are intriguing people all over the country and the world to see this film?
Well, I think that one of the most intriguing things about the film is the fact that after nearly 30 years, from the people who have taught us everything we know about HIV and AIDS and who have built the science around it, those people in our film are now saying very unique thoughts and offering different perspectives that I don't think the public has ever been exposed to. And as you and I have talked about previously, one of the most profound comments is by the Nobel Prize winner for discovering HIV, Dr. Luc Montagnier, who talks about the fact that if you have an established affection, you can clear it naturally. And that's an unbelievably important comment, especially when you talk about the fact that we're sending $50 billion in aid over to Africa to buy pharmaceutical drugs.
Well, and we have in this film that you've interviewed some of these experts, as you mentioned, Luc Montagnier, acknowledging that nutrition may play a much more important and powerful role in clearing the situation up.
Well, not just a more important role, but I asked him, do you think that AIDS medication is the key for treating Africa and talking about people that are infected? He said no. He talked about clean nutrition, proper sanitation, dealing with the infections that Africa has to deal with on a daily basis: malaria, tuberculosis, poverty, all these different things that play a role in destroying our immune system. It's very profound, and I think that we need to get Dr. Montagnier on and ask him why he said the things he said, and I think the NIH needs to talk to him, and we need to run some studies to see, what can possibly be done differently than treating people with medication.
Well, you remember, you've lived on planet Earth as long as there's been, in this case, this so-called knowledge of AIDS and the potential death by retrovirus, as they called it. And you had some, again, very pointed questions that, some of us that have been around a little longer that saw this transition from a world before to a world after. And what's coming out now is stunning, what you reveal in the film, especially as you were asking some of these scientists about the testing methodologies and the reliability or lack thereof of the different tests. You have scientists, they're not arguing directly, but they're saying different things about the very same tests.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that I found really just astonishing, and it also goes back to the fact that I took an HIV test in South Africa. And when you see the film, it's quite revealing that the tests that I take, it doesn't appear that they have any ability to diagnose you with HIV with any form of accuracy. And then, as I went on a world trip, and as I was traveling the globe, I stopped off in Germany, and I talked to a Western blot specialist at the Robert Koch Institute, and she was telling me that there's different governing body criteria for how we actually interpret a Western blot, which is what we in the United States use as the gold standard for determining whether somebody is HIV infected. And then, when I was in London, Dr. Robin Weiss told me that he feels that the Western blot is not a useful diagnostic test for diagnosing somebody with HIV. So everybody has these different point of views, and I think that it's something that we really need to investigate.
In other words, there's not an alignment among the scientific community on agreement, where everybody assumes everybody's in agreement. What you reveal there is it's utter chaos on some levels.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's chaos, but I think there's definite disagreement, and that disagreement is definitely impacting people's lives. I mean, one thing we have to ask is how many people may have been told they were infected with a virus that's said to kill them that might not be considered a positive on different criteria.
Yeah, in a different country, going over to Canada, going to Australia, whatever. Now, where will they be able to see? Where will my listeners and people all over the country be able to see House of Numbers opening up? I know in Portland, Oregon this week.
Well, we have on our website, www.houseofnumbers.com, we have our screening schedule where it lists all the different venues that we're going to be screening at, along with our Facebook page, which is also under House of Numbers. So I just encourage people to keep checking there. We're starting our theatrical rollout for North America in Portland, Oregon, and then we'll be rolling out to the entire North American continent, Canada and the United States, in the next couple of months.
Well, Brent Leung, I can't say how much I just it was thoroughly enjoying, even though it's hard to sit through, not in a negative way, just because you're stunned by what is being revealed. And it's very important that every American, everybody around the world that believes AIDS is the end of everything, look at this film, House of Numbers. Quite transforming and actually engaging, and you will be entertained as well. Thank you, Brent Leung, for being back on. And everybody, go see House of Numbers when it opens at a theater near you.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.